right, so I'm going to take you to 3:25 p.m. on Saturday. You're standing in the tunnel, lining up, ready to go out for the last time and take the field. Was Thunderstruck playing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that you love that song. You love that as the intro.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you thinking?
Really just gratitude for it all. Being my third senior day.
Right.
The end had crossed my mind in Spartan Stadium a couple of times before, but by that point in the previous 2 seasons, I had known I was coming back. It was a little weird this year, little different, a little more emotional, knowing this really was it, had to be it. No more years that the NCAA could cough up for me. So knowing it was the end, just filled with gratitude for my time here and reflecting on it all, and where I was when I came in and what I thought it would look like versus fast forward 6 years and sort of what's all transpired and what my time there has looked like. I was grateful for it all the ups and the downs, all the lessons, all the people that have come into my life and been great and supportive and helped me grow as a young man. Just wanted to go out there and express my gratitude by playing hard one last time in Spartan Stadium. Didn't get the result we wanted. Had plenty of adversity throughout the game, but just overall, reflecting really that week and sort of as things wind down, just everything that sort of comes out of it's gratitude on my end.
I want to take just a quick little sojourn down that answer because you said third senior day. You had the COVID season and I think a redshirt season.
Yep.
And I remember on your first senior day, what was supposed to be your first senior day, so that would have been 2023, I remember texting you and saying, Sam, I want to be there for your game. Are you guys coming out of the tunnel? Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that? And you said they changed it up so that they didn't actually do player introductions one by one back then.
Yeah.
Back then, 2023.
I think there was a stretch of years there where we did a couple different things. Some of it was more like behind the scenes with the families, honoring the seniors and everything. At that point, I think they did like a tribute on the video board, but there was no real like pregame festivities. So that at the time, I technically went through that senior day behind the scenes, but kind of knowing I was leaning towards coming back.
I liked that they switched it back.
Yeah.
And you guys got to each come out like that. Wasn't that better?
Yeah, definitely. It's special and, definitely emotional and everything kind of, comes back to you.
Well, your mom and dad on either side.
Yeah.
You get a hug from your coach who gave you a scholarship, right?
Yeah.
What are you thinking when you're giving a hug to Coach Smith and, say what you want about the record, but, he did a lot for you, giving you that scholarship.
No doubt. Yeah. Just, again, I think in talking to my mom about this recently, there's 2 ways you could go with how this last year and these last couple of years, for me personally, I could sort of wallow in pity and say, I came back to win games, came back to do this, and haven't gotten the results we wanted, waste of a year, and it sucks, I pout about it, whatever. Or, just think of, for me, I just think of all the great relationships I've built. The process is still there. The day-to-day that I love is still there. And
such discipline.
And it's good work, and I think it's, molding me into hopefully a good young man and boosting me forward in life and teaching so many valuable lessons. So, I choose to go the other route and think of all the good that's come from it, and still got opportunities on the field that I want to maximize and make the most out of. But just in terms of reflecting on that, I choose that gratitude route and just thankful for Coach Smith and his belief in me and convinced me to come back when he got hired going into my 5th year, and the relationship I've built with him. He's been such a steady support in my football life and getting to know him as a coach and as a guy. And I think, I really wouldn't trade these last 2 years. I know the results haven't been what any of us wanted, and they're devastating at times even, but I think the gratitude remains for the people I'm around and the relationships I've been able to build and cultivate.
This is probably a good time for me to say I'm Mike Nichols, and I'm filling in for Andrew Abood on the A-List podcast, and this is Sam Edwards. You started as a walk-on linebacker at Michigan State University in 2020 or 19?
20.
20. Because 2019 you graduated from high school, right?
I graduated, spring of 2020. Phantom graduation.
Right, not really a real graduation. And I'll talk about your high school career a little bit, but what I want to do is bring out your recruiting story, because remember telling me about the conversation with Izzo?
Yeah. Actually,
and I promise I won't do the Izzo imitation, because I know you love it, but how'd that all play out? Because you were thinking about going somewhere else where you were, obviously going to get a lot more playing time.
Yeah. And really 2 conversations with Coach Izzo in high school and again later on in that buffer between my 4th and 5th year.
Oh, yeah, because Steven was going to your high school, wasn't he?
Yes.
Time? Yeah.
Yep.
Lansing Catholic High School.
Yes, sir. And I had sat down, met with Coach Izzo, just sort of talked about the options. Similar conversations 4 years apart, the first and the second with him, but also just talked about what this place means to him, obviously, and to me being around it with my dad growing up, and how special this place is. And really what struck me from that is, he talked about, liking it, loving it, and living it. And the guys that live it, you've probably heard before.
I've heard him say that.
Yeah. And the guys that live it are the ones that make the most out of it. I remember sitting there as a senior in high school thinking, I think I live this, and I think I could, make. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think I could make something out of this, and keep my roots here, and have a productive and fruitful time at Michigan State, and really just looking at it as my best next step coming out of high school. Coached by the best coaches, developed by the best strength and conditioning and nutrition staff, and I just wanted to challenge myself and push myself to be in that environment that was a little outside of my comfort zone. Like you said, there were other opportunities there that may have, yielded certain results a little sooner, but just wanted to take that leap and challenge myself. And there were days, especially early on. There's probably still days every once in a while, but especially early on, there were days where it was like, what's this gonna look like? What's this gonna pan out to be? But just grateful I stuck with it, and I really am grateful for the I guess the fruits of these last couple of years in my life.
Like Sisyphus with a rock, you've become accustomed to the grind.
Yeah.
Over time. Talk a little bit about that grind, because I know you start early, you end late, you get your breaks, but there's a lot of time management that has to happen.
Yeah, really, it comes down to, and whenever people ask me this question, I use it as an opportunity to drop this line. How you do one thing is how you do everything. That's from getting out of bed, showing up for meetings, going out on the practice field, working hard, how you recover, how you work in the weight room. Okay, now how you go to class, how you do your schoolwork, how you stay in touch and lean on the support of the academic staff. That's excellent. And really just start to finish of your day. I think how you do one thing is how you do everything is sort of a mantra that constantly reminds me not to slack in any facet. And then the time management and some of that stuff sort of just falls as a result of that mindset.
What a lot of people don't recognize or appreciate about the program is the influence of the past, even if John Smith didn't have really any connection to the university when he came in, but you're on that practice field and there are influences from the past everywhere. I think you've talked a little bit with me about Sabanisms, right? From Coach D'Antonio and Coach Tucker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
and how you do one thing is how you do everything. That's a Sabanism.
For sure. Yeah, no, he definitely still has his mark on this place, one way or another, in terms of the mindset, the mentality, and things like that. The process everyone talks about the process, all kinds of levels. A lot of people, talk about that as their sort of guiding factor, their guiding principle. The process was born at Michigan State. Nick Saban and Dr. Rosen, it was going into that 1998 game against Ohio State. Nick Saban talked to Dr. Rosen about, how do I go about this psychologically? What's the game plan?
We're 2-5, and we're about to play the number 1 team in the nation in their stadium.
Yeah,
right?
and what they came up with was, I'm going to give my 100% focus, effort, and attention to this one play, and every play has a history and a life of its own. You treat every play as having a history and a life of its own, and you give 100% to that one play. Then the whistle's blown, quickly process it, move on, and then you do the same thing with the next play. And he said, if you can do that for 4 quarters, one play at a time, whatever, regardless of the outcome, you can look up, you can be, satisfied with the result, knowing that, when you put your head on your pillow, that you committed to the process and you gave your 100% to every individual play, and the result was good that day.
Right. You at least are not going to look in the mirror in the next morning and say, okay, I could have given more.
Right.
And for viewers, listeners who don't know what we're talking about when we went into the shoe and we beat Ohio State in 1998 when they were the number 1 team in the country. And Nick Saban talks about that game as what turned his career around.
Yeah.
Because, we were doing okay. We were getting better. It was probably Nick's 3rd year, but then he just took off.
Yeah.
As a coach.
Yeah. And I think, what he carried with him from then on, obviously, leaving Michigan State not too soon after that, was that process, that mindset of every play having a history and life of its own, and having sort of a so what, now what mentality. From my time here at Michigan State, we had an acronym: WIN. What's important now?
Right.
And if you commit,
the last play does you no good.
Exactly. Every play's got a history and a life of its own. Coach Rossi talks all the time about good play, bad play, next play. Regardless of, could have played that play better, I could have done this better, or I just made a play. Made something happen. It was as good as it could have gotten. There's always a next play. And so I think that mentality, I think that does wonders for you as a player, and being able to commit to that, I think, will make you a better player. It helps you buy into, we've talked about this in law and work, professional life.
Right.
Being process driven. If you refine and you devote yourself to your process, the results will take care of themselves, and they're not always going to be what you want, but you can live with results when your process is in order. And so I think that really, I think it resonates with me, just thinking about all facets of my life.
That's one of the reasons why we went up to the Upper Peninsula to take those depositions in that civil case. We weren't going to do that by Zoom.
No.
Those were big witnesses, right?
Yeah.
And I hope you took that away.
Yeah. Exactly. The preparation and the process of it all is a great lesson.
Superior preparation yields superior results. Inferior preparation is just the opposite.
Yeah.
Talk about Coach D. He was your first coach, right?
He recruited me. So his staff recruited me. I remember Coach Bowman sitting in the little closet that was Coach Ahern's office in Lansing Catholic High School.
Coach Jim Ahern, who was your coach when you won the state championship in 2019.
Correct.
Yeah.
I remember Coach Bowman sitting in there, Coach Staten sitting in there, talking about the preferred walk-on spot, talking about what that would look like and the opportunities that would be available. Coach D, obviously, I'd had a relationship with him growing up around the program. Great man, all-time great man, great Spartan. Just leader, absolute leader of men. Stoic.
Right.
Decisive. And so when I committed, I believe it was early February in 2020, because at that point I was all in on it. Just committed, was like, I'm going to take this leap, see what happens. I think the next day is when he announced his retirement.
The next day after you said,
so
I'm committed, I'm all in.
Hopefully I wasn't the one that scared him off, but
we've all heard the stories. There is other cause and effect going on there.
But yeah, he retired shortly after I committed. So now I was kind of up in the air again. Who are they going to hire? Is the person they're going to hire, sort of honor the PWO that I just accepted?
Sure, preferred walk-on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did, and came here, got around his staff a little bit in the spring on Zoom, meeting with some of them, getting to know some of the scheme, and then
And that's Coach Tucker.
yeah, Coach Tuck, and Coach Hayes and Coach Els, getting around those guys, getting to know them. And then I reported in June. I think I was 11 days late to reporting because I was quarantined. So I was.
You had COVID?
I didn't. I got like contact.
Or did I just violate FERPA by asking you that?
No,
I think I just violated a federal law. There.
I think
It's okay.
we got good lawyers.
You can
around
waive
here.
it. Yeah,
We
yeah.
got
We're in a
good
law
lawyers
firm.
around
Yeah.
here.
Well, they're decent.
Yeah. No, but the that summer was weird. Fall was even weirder.
Oh yeah.
But just sort of tried to give myself to it and commit to it every day, and that process that was being preached to us every day, and here we are now.
And I know that, it doesn't really matter because you made the decision that you made, but you had a lot of other opportunities. I mean, you were a stud in high school. I mean, there was no doubt you were D1 material, but you went D1, Power 5, Big Ten. You decided you were going to reach higher, as they say.
Yeah, and that sort of gets back to what we're talking about, just challenging myself to be around the best and be at my best when I'm around the best, and very thankful that Coach Antonio gave me that opportunity, and Coach Tucker honored it. Getting back to Coach D, I didn't have my experience with him as a coach necessarily until 2023, when he stepped in and sort of served as a consultant advisory role when Coach Barnett was the interim. And my job actually that year, I was talking to him a lot every day at practice, trying to get him caught up to speed on some of our defensive scheme, because I knew the playbook very well and wasn't necessarily taking a ton of reps at linebacker in practice. So, I was standing with Coach D, and every time a play would come in for practice, I'd say, okay, this is
Right.
our call for cover 4, and the D line's doing this, and
Right.
and whatnot. So I had some great conversations, and it was special that I got to experience him as a coach. Albeit 4 years after I committed to him as a coach, but that was a special experience, and definitely cherished those couple weeks we had with him in 23.
I remember thinking when everything went down with Coach Tuck and he left, and I think I reached out to you because I was like, man, that's got to just suck for Sam. He passed up all these opportunities to come to Michigan State, and now there's all this instability. And it seemed like not just you, but everybody rallied in a really, didn't put a bunch of wins on the board, but got a big one. I think it was that Illinois game, maybe on the road.
That was in 22.
22.
So
Okay.
that was actually after the tunnel game. That was
Oh,
with
right.
Coach
I'm
Tucker.
conflating my stories. That was
Yeah.
after KJ and those other guys got in trouble for
Yeah.
the tunnel fight. Yeah.
Yeah, but we were able to, and some of my, I guess on the books they're not wins anymore, but some of my greatest memories from my time here were that Nebraska win and the Indiana win in 2023 with Coach Barnett as our interim head coach, and just the group of guys we had and how we stuck together and kept showing up. I believe Indiana that year was week 11, trophy game. They were pretty down. We were pretty down. I think we traveled like 40 guys, 40 scholarship guys, and then a handful of walk-ons
Which is
like
not
myself.
a lot.
Right.
Right.
And we went out there and beat them, and it was a great memory and just good all-around moment for our team. And that group of guys was special to me. And so I have great memories from that year. And then, yeah.
Yeah, really, Coach Barnett. So that would have been your third coach, right? Well, if you count Coach D.
Yeah.
He, what a guy, what a Spartan.
Yeah.
What do you remember about when he came in that first meeting after he's now the head coach from defensive coordinator, or was he the
He was
D-backs
coaching
coach?
D-backs,
D-backs coach,
Yep.
yeah. What do you remember about that?
I just remember him stepping up. He's such a respected figure in that program, whether you were on the defensive side of the ball or had much experience with him being around the DBs, just sort of how he carries himself and the type of man that he is. He garners a lot of respect, and he did from our locker room. And so when we heard that he was going to be the one to be stepping up and taking that role, I think we were all ready to rally around him, because he's a guy you love to go to war for, and a guy that cares about you and shows that he cares about you. And he wanted to do everything to mentally and emotionally keep us going,
Fire you up.
Yeah, fire us up. It was a crazy time stability wise, and just sort of carrying the torch of look, it is what it is at this point in terms of the situation. No one here can do anything to change the situation. We still got games to play. We still got to go out there and fight every Saturday. So we're gonna lean into our approach and lean into each other and see what we can do for the rest of the year. And it was tough. We lost close games that year. I think Iowa, Rutgers, all those games, very winnable games that year. But to be able to break through and win a couple at the end was special, and it meant a lot for us to get that done with Coach Barnett.
I think history is going to look back, especially if 3 years, hopefully sooner than 3 years, that the program is back on the mountaintop. I think people look at your senior classes, these were the survivors. And these were the guys who threaded one end of history to the other. And I just don't know how you mentally go through all that. It's got to be so hard when it seems like piece of bad news after piece of bad news, and almost like one a season. This year it was the probation thing.
Yeah.
And take all the losses.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that. I've heard that about our senior class, and I think there's something to that. I like to always add, I think it's a class of fighters. And not just survivors, because if you look at the way these guys in my class and in this senior class, of course I'm part of a third senior class, but if you look at these guys in the senior class, it's guys like you said that did survive it, and at the same time the way these guys have shown up and fought week in, week out, off season to try to give us the best chance. And again, the results have been frustrating. And everyone's frustrated, but people say adversity introduces man to himself, and I think the truth about these men in the room that are seniors that haven't had the career they thought. You got to think these guys came in. We had just won the Peach Bowl. We were on top. We're coming off an 11-2 year, preseason ranked number 10, and this hasn't gone at all what they thought it was going to be like.
No, not at all.
And but the way these guys, and so, I'm so proud of them and thankful to be around them and see that example, and hopefully be a part of that example behind closed doors with this team, is the way they've shown up and fought week in and week out and stuck to the approach, stuck to the process, and leaned into this whole thing. I say you got to be kind of a sick person to love it when it's like this,
right?
But I think we got some sick people.
It seemed like even that Penn State game, there was no quit.
Yeah,
there was no quit. No.
And I think that's a great testament to Coach Smith's leadership too. He's not always necessarily the most fiery guy in front of people, and I know that frustrates people. But in terms of his devotion to the approach and to the process, and I think that Minnesota game, down 10-0 at halftime, coming off 5 losses in a row, including a loss in a big game at home. The way the team continued to fight and put us in a chance to win the game, I think is a testament to, just a combination of things: leadership, approach, mindset, mentality, all those sorts of things. I think is a good testament to the fight that this group has.
The thing that I want to make sure to cover with you, Sam, is when you started your college football career and that journey, I'm pretty sure it was pre-players getting paid, NIL. The transfer portal, I think, was a thing, but not the thing that it is now.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like you got to re-recruit a guy every year.
Kind of blew up after COVID with NIL and the portal all being together. It's like free agency.
Yes. And almost like it's a professional athletic conference. Can you reflect a little bit on how college football has changed from a player's perspective?
It's definitely different. I think I talk, as you know, I'm on some of the committee stuff with the NCAA and in some discussions there. I kind of think of myself as a dinosaur a little bit in this thing, because I'm a 6th-year guy that stayed at the same place for all 6 years.
Right.
And a walk-on, which like that sort of thing doesn't really happen a whole lot. Not to say it's special, but it's just kind of rare nowadays. but it definitely it changes things because you're getting to know more teammates every year as opposed to a freshman class. You're getting these guys in that are coming in May and leaving after the season. So it definitely changes things a little bit, but you just try to get around and you try to be around each other as much as you can and build that connection with the team and you kind of just go through and understand and this team might not look the same ever again. It's kind of different in that respect. The money factor definitely changes things a little bit. I think that being said, along the same lines as some of the conversations I've been a part of on the administrative side of things with the NCAA and the Big Ten, I think there is work being done to sort of try and stabilize things and calm things down a little bit.
That's got to happen.
We'll see what comes of that. I know there's a bill I think in the House called the SCORE Act. I'm not sure if you've heard.
I have. Yeah. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting opportunity. I think there's fair points, both in support and in opposition, for sure. It's yet to be voted on, I believe, and supposed to be voted on I think, prior to the shutdown and open back up, and they're pretty busy right now.
A few other things are going on.
Yeah, but it kind of tries to nationalize some things, stabilize some things, clearly state that they're not employees, they're still student athletes. This is what that entails.
More like contractors than employees.
Sort of, yeah. This is what that entails for the students. This is what that entails for the institutions. And so it's an attempt, and I think it's a work in progress, and I think some good could come from it. I think, the needle's been moved, and I think necessarily, I think it's a good thing, obviously, to get paid, to have the ability to explore options and everything like that. And I think the needle's been moved in a positive direction. I think sometimes when you open floodgates in those areas, there needs to be sort of a period of, let's take a look at it and see how we can stabilize this thing so it's not just a sea of lawsuits and changing policies every other year and whatnot. So I think there is a real effort there being made.
I want to get your take on this because I learned a phrase when I represented one of the players, and it was, that guy's just chasing a bag. And I didn't realize what that meant, but it was, he's just there for the money, going to get as much NIL as he can or build up a resume and, get an NFL look, which was always the thing. Is that maybe the biggest thing that's changed with this player payment and NIL new era?
I think that's definitely a factor. There are people that
you've heard this, right? Chasing a bag?
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I think that's definitely a thing. I think it bleeds into other issues. I think you look around at the NCAA, there's more and more eligibility lawsuits every year, guys petitioning for more and more years, because now that you can get paid,
Let's break some news. Are you going to petition for a 7th year?
I think it's time to move on with my life. In a couple
maybe it's
weeks.
Time for law school.
Maybe it's time for law school.
Yeah.
We put it off long enough. But why wouldn't you try and stay in college as long as you can, especially if your NFL hopes aren't necessarily high, stick around here and get paid and play as long as you can.
It also seems like, and I don't know why I say this, and maybe it's easy for me to say because I've never played at either level. It seems like the NFL game is more violent than the NCAA game. Like the players are bigger, they hit harder, there are fewer teams, so fewer players are in, so they're naturally going to be bigger athletes, tougher, faster, and your body's going to get beat up that much. I mean, your shelf life is that much shorter.
Yeah, it's the highest level, and it's a special opportunity for those guys. I have buddies that have been fortunate to make it there, and it's a different animal for sure in terms of the level of football and everything. And there's a reason, that only so many make it.
Right. You're still planning law school.
Yep.
Have you started applying yet or not?
I got a couple active applications. I got to write some essays.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Yeah.
As part of that, though, for your application, you've got not only, your undergraduate degree, which was.
It's a long-winded answer.
That's okay. Give it.
It was a double major in political theory and constitutional democracy.
James Madison
was the first major. international relations was a second major, and then I minored in political economy.
You went to the James Madison College,
Correct.
right? Which was not easy to get into. And then you've got a master's degree. Are you done with your master's?
I'm working on it.
Okay. And it's going to be
finishing in a couple weeks.
some cognitive business, right?
It's marketing research and analytics through the Broad College of Business.
Okay. And then you'll have that on your resume for your law school applications. You'll have student athlete on your resume, but then you're going to have all the other stuff that I know you do on your resume.
You'll be on my resume.
Okay. All right. Hopefully, right where the ends go, no higher, no lower. But all the other stuff that you do that's going to go in that application, I think people should know, because that's kind of how you're using your opportunity as a student athlete at a Power 5, D1, Big Ten school. Tell me all the things that you do.
Yeah, so on the student athlete things, obviously what takes most of my time, as you know very well, I spent a couple years and then a couple projects even sporadically working at your law firm.
The Nichols Law Firm. You can say
the
it.
Nichols Law Firm. And on top of that, I'm a member of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, SAC, for Michigan State. I'm the football rep. As of this past year, I've gotten involved in, there's some new governance structure things with the NCAA that I've sort of been fortunately given the opportunity to have a hand in. So I represent the Big Ten on the Football Oversight Committee Player Engagement Group, which we basically meet and talk about things like the transfer portal, the spring football calendar, just different football-specific issues.
To try to avoid what? Players abusing it?
No, just to talk about the issues, and the oversight committee sort of deals with the policy and gives sort of advice to some of the higher level D1 cabinet and board of directors and whatnot. Just some issues that deal with, for instance, the transfer portal window change from 2 windows to 1 window. A couple other things that have to do with exemptions and whatnot, eligibility issues, just talk about some things like that, get the player's perspective. And then that group doesn't necessarily have any voting power, but we sort of report to a couple representatives that then report to some committees. And then through that, I was sort of given this opportunity. I now sit on the NCAA Division I Board of Directors as a student athlete representative. There's 3 seats. So there's a football student athlete representative that represents college football. There's a men's and women's basketball representative who I'm not sure they've chosen yet. And there's a national SAC, so the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. At the national level, their chair is on the board of directors, and then a university president from the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, Big 12. There's university presidents and chancellors, there's a couple athletic directors. NCAA president Charlie Baker is on there, and so that's been pretty cool to be a part of that. And I had my first meeting a couple weeks ago. They were all in Indianapolis. I was on Microsoft Teams for 7 hours, but I actually have a vote on that committee, so that's been really interesting to deal with some of the issues up front and debate them and vote on them.
Does it work like, for example, the NCAA governing board says, okay, we want to consider whether or not we're going to institute rule change X, and then they want feedback from the different student-athlete council groups, and you'll say, here's what our committee thinks about that rule change.
Yeah, so for the oversight committee, yeah, it'll be something like that. The oversight committee's been discussing, moving the transfer portal windows or reducing it to 1 and discussing where they're going to place it.
Because there are like 3 now?
There's 2 right now. Well, there's technically 1 now. It's been changed. But that'll go to the player engagement group that I'm on. And then that type of issue may not work its way all the way up, but then there's other issues, legislative issues, other processes that the board sort of sets and deals with. And I'm on that as well. And I vote on that one. So that's they meet, I believe, 4 or 5 times a year. I'm going out to D.C. in January for the next one. But so I serve on the player engagement group, which is sort of just discussion and feedback. And then I also serve on the board of directors, which is more of an official voting role.
When you went to the first one where you're like, okay, I got to go meet with the NCAA board of directors, What were you thinking?
I was
Because these are ostensibly really smart people with credentials like, lawyers or MBAs or both, former players, former coaches. What's your mindset going into one of those?
I was just part of me was just trying to get my feet under me and look through the agenda and prep for what was all going to be discussed in general. Just because we talk about so much in our player engagement group that pertains to just football. Now I'm at the NCAA level talking about issues that are all encompassing of college sports. So I wanted to make sure I was as informed as I could to represent student athletes' voice on that. But I was really just looking forward to hearing. It's a completely different side of things. Meeting with a group of players and having some really good discussions and providing feedback, and then meeting with presidents and chancellors and ads and
That's heady stuff.
Sort of a different tone.
You had to be just a little bit intimidated.
I was a little bit. I was also like one of the only people virtually, so I was trying to look around the room, especially if I chimed in. I was trying to gauge and see if I got any head nods or anything. I wanted to make sure I was welcome.
Versus the squinty eyes, president of College X is like, who is that guy?
Yeah. So it was a great experience. I'm looking forward to the next one, and that whole world that's sort of my eyes have been open to has been interesting, and I've enjoyed.
Well, that's where the money is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that group, that's what helps control and generate all of the millions, billions of dollars that, revenue generating sports in college football, basketball, you name it. That's who runs it.
Yeah. So it's been a real treat to be able to be a part of those conversations.
Oh, yeah.
And be up close and have a hand in it too. Like I said, voting on it and discussing the issues.
That on your law school application, I would like to think is going to stand out.
I hope so.
More than just a little bit. That and your law school aptitude test or LSAT test score. I think that will probably supersede even that.
Hopefully.
How did you find time to study for the LSAT? Or did you? Because some gals will just sit down and take this. It's a standardized test, right? You just sit down and take it. And
I didn't study as much as I would have liked. I took it during fall camp, Friday practice, went to practice, ran off the field, got in my car, drove to the test center, took the test, drove back, went to meetings in the afternoon, got out about 8:30 after evening walkthrough, fall camp, and then tried not to think about it till the score came out a month later. So I didn't really find as much time as I would have liked, or I guess I didn't carve out as much time as I would have liked. But
look at it like this. You want to go to law school X, and you can say or not. You get into that law school, you're walking across that campus, and you're like, okay, I guess I studied just enough for the LSAT.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to prioritize
that's,
what you're going to do in a given day when you've got all of these responsibilities.
Yeah, and obviously not as exactly what I would have liked, but it's a decent score. And we've talked too, once you get the foot in the door, it's all about how hard you work and what you make of it. So that's where my focus is now, is get my foot in the door.
That's right. I didn't go to my dream law school. Spoiler alert. I went where I went. I went to Cooley at night, and I like to think I'm doing just fine.
I think you're doing more than just fine.
Yeah. What do you think you want to do once you're done with law school and you pass the 3-day exam called the bar exam?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure yet. I think talking to you and other people that have been in terms of area of law and what it's going to look like, of where my interests lie, I think part of it will depend on where I go. I am still interested. I do have a soft spot for my undergrad political theory, jurisprudential sort of
constitutional democracy.
Yeah, constitutional law.
We're 250 years old, but we're still an experiment.
Yeah,
in the United States of America.
Yeah, and so I think if the avenue's there to sort of lean into that constitutional background and maybe work into some public office type of
Sam Edwards for the United States Senate 2034.
Something like that wouldn't be terrible, I don't think.
Do you think you want to stay in Michigan?
I'm not sure. I love Michigan. I'd love to stay. It sort of depends on where all the opportunities are, and
because your roots are here, right?
Grew
up in Williamston.
Yep.
I mean, basically school age.
Yeah.
right? Because your dad is a college administrator, and if I remember correctly, you guys moved here for that.
Yes. So
Walk me through the story. I know I've heard it, but
he's from Oklahoma. My mom's from Iowa. They met in Iowa. My dad was a defensive coordinator at a small school. She was working in administrative role at her college. She was, shortly after she had gotten out. They met. Long story short, they get married. He ends up getting out of coaching and working in academic sport, which he does now
at Michigan State,
at Colorado State at first. That's where I was born, and then 2004, August 2004, we moved out here.
Yeah. Okay, so you were like elementary school.
I was 2.
And you've got a bunch of siblings.
Yeah.
How many?
4 of them.
4. And one still goes to high school, right?
Yep.
Where are you in the pecking order?
I'm the second.
Okay.
I'm the second, yep. Got an older brother. He's an architect in New York. Younger sister, she's studying education and special education at a small Catholic school in Kansas, Benedictine. Anthony is a freshman at Michigan State. He's the student offensive assistant coach for the Michigan State Spartans.
He's in college already?
He's a freshman.
Wow.
Helping out coach receivers. And then Michael, sophomore at Lansing Catholic.
Right. And he's on the football team.
Yep.
Okay. When did you realize that you had potential as a football player or an athlete? Because I think you also played baseball.
Yeah. I just always loved it growing up. I remember begging my parents to play as young as I could. Tried flag in 2nd grade and didn't like that I didn't get to hit people and
didn't get to hit anybody.
and so sat out a year and then played junior Cougars in 4th grade on the 4th and 5th grade team. Played center. And center was a wake-up call from not getting to hit anybody to being 80
hit
pounds.
all the time.
Getting hit by big D linemen. And then, I don't know, I just always loved it. And always, whenever fall rolled around and get the smell in the air and football season rolls around, it's addicting.
Everybody looks at those fall days as so romantic when it comes to football.
Yeah.
Nobody really thinks about those late July, early August days when you're running gassers and sprints and maybe even you got the pads on.
Yeah.
Those are the days where you're earning it, right?
Yeah. 'Cause you got to love it then, too.
Yeah. So I do want to cover your high school career just a little bit. You played at a really great program for a really great coach. What was that like playing high school football, and when did you realize, man, we're a really good team that could go to the state championship?
Yeah, I think it's funny you asked that. I think that realization came early, like in those 4th and 5th and 6th grade years when we were playing with your boys that go to St. Thomas and St. Gerard and all these places.
These are all feeder schools in the Lansing area that feed into Lansing Catholic High School.
And knowing that at some point it was going to be our time to go to Lansing Catholic. And, at that time, I had Cooper Rush and then Tony Poljan and all these great teams.
Cooper is an NFL, still an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. And so, looking up to those guys and having our own little teams as we're growing up, thinking, we got some good teams at this age, and if we stick together and keep working, by the time it's our turn, we can, hopefully go make something of it. And so high school football is awesome. You're playing with your boys that you grew up with, that you go to school with every day. They're your best friends, and you're out there just on a Friday night going to war with each other. And so it was special. We had such a close team, and it was special for us. Coach Ahern's the best, and the best of the best, and great coach and great mentor and great person. And so to be able to get him his first state title our senior year meant the world to all of us. And
you still stay in touch with your boys, as they put it?
Yeah, I'm in touch with a handful of them. And
what's your favorite story
from Lansing Catholic?
Yeah, from high school football.
I mean, it's hard for it to be anything other than that state championship game. We didn't have a good first half. We were getting beat. Things weren't looking great, and then we came out in the second half and just sort of poured it on them, and everything went our way, and we were making plays and just took off and took the lead, I think, early in the 4th quarter, late in the 3rd quarter, and just went from there. And it's always the best to win your last game.
Yeah, I didn't go. My kid was at the time at St. Thomas Aquinas, and I remember turning it off in the first half thinking, this isn't going well. And then I turned it on in the second half, and I think it was a close-up on you. You had just made some play, and you guys were up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a special game.
What do you think it took to make a comeback like that in a pressure cooker of a moment? What do you think was the driving force between almost success and success?
Yeah, I think it comes down, and I think this applies to all levels and all sorts of things. I think it comes down to belief and trust in the people around you. One, from a team standpoint, Coach Smith talks all the time about the more connected we are, the more committed we'll become. Belief and trust in your teammates that I'm going to do my job and they're going to do their job, and things will go from there. I think is first and foremost, and then second, I think I've heard the phrase you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. So falling back on our training and how hard we work to get there, and just sticking to again the process and playing each play one play at a time. When you're down however many points we were down, you can't get it all back at once. You gotta chip away at it.
There's no such thing as a 28-point play.
Exactly. And so just got to play every play.
It's what we talk to our witnesses and clients about, right? And they get prepared to testify. You got to make sure to remind them you're not going to win the case with one answer.
Yeah.
Right. Your role on the team now, apart from being a captain, you're kind of the special teams guy. Talk about what you do on the field.
Yeah, so my main role on the field is the sort of personal protector on punt. And so that goes into setting the protection, IDing different pressures, checking the protection if we have to. So a lot of study goes into that. Some teams really scheme it up and try to mess with you, and so a lot of preparation goes into that, and just trying to make sure all 11 are on the same page and we get the ball kicked. Punt's a crazy play.
It is a crazy play.
You look at
if they're bringing the punt block.
Yeah, and you look at the game of football. It's all about yards and points. There's big plays on offense. There's big plays on defense. I think there's analytics somewhere, like the average series of football, offense or defense, is 30-something, maybe 40 yards. Some of them are touchdowns, some of them aren't. Every punt play is 40-yard change. It's 40-yard change, one way or the other, and so punts I had a coach call it a one-play series.
Right. So that's a good way to put it.
From a yard standpoint, and so it requires all kinds of focus and technique.
I've seen plays when I go to games and I'm up close, and like a guy will not hear somebody say, get away from the ball. Well, I don't know what that call is. What's that?
Peter?
Word? Yeah. Peter, get away from the ball, right?
Yeah.
As the captain now, what do you say to somebody who might blow it and maybe, the ball touches them, which means that's a problem, potentially. It doesn't bounce as far as you want it to bounce. What do you say, if anything, to your teammate? And you're the captain, you're the leader. You got to do something.
Yeah, I think anytime someone makes a mistake or something doesn't go our way or their way on that particular play, it's that so what, now what mentality. Good play, bad play, next play. You got to be where your feet are. You're not going to get that back. Just is what it is. All you can do is give your focus and your attention and your effort to the next opportunity that you get. So that's always been, and I'm pretty encouraging as a captain. I'm not necessarily someone that's gonna, MF you and get in your face and yell at you unless you need it, unless your attitude.
And maybe some guys need that.
It. Yeah, and as a captain, this sort of comes from knowing your teammates and knowing how to talk to them and make sure they hear the message and not the tone, and being sort of a laid-back guy, I usually don't resort to that. I don't see the need to, but being encouraging and I had someone in my time here say, you're not calling them out, you're calling them up.
Oh, I like that. And, we use that in the law representing people. Some clients are going to need, some tough love. Some clients need to be called up instead of called out.
Yeah.
I like that. So talk to me about your favorite story as a Michigan State Spartan, whether it's on the field or off the field. And it can involve bars. Sometimes the best stories involve bars.
I got so many stories from my 6 years worth of stories. There's...
Who's the biggest character? I'm not talking about best player, but just biggest character, funniest guy.
Funniest guy on our team now. I don't know. We got some funny guys. It's hard to put a pin. I got some good stories. from my first 3.5 years from meetings that may not be shareable from the Tuck years. Got some great memories. It's hard to put a pin on one as my favorite. I'm trying to think. I seriously have just so many 6 years worth.
When you're sitting down over a couple of beers, you'll remember those stories, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I can't think of the best one to share.
Who's the best golfer on the team?
On a good day, I can give it a run, but it's truth be told, it's not me. Ryan Eckley's a pretty good golfer, our punter.
Okay.
Me and him play a lot in the summer. Jay Coyne, our fullback's a very good golfer.
That's number 44.
44,
okay.
Yeah. Me, him, and Eckley actually took a trip last year for spring break out to Utah and played some golf, which was pretty fun. And then Brennan Parachek, one of our tight ends, number 82, he can hit the ball. Powerful.
Yeah, I will see guys who are clearly football players and probably not high school football players playing golf quite a bit, usually on Sunday evening. That's kind of your downtime, right? Even if it's in season?
Sunday evening, like Sunday afternoon right now in season, we usually meet and practice on Sunday. Monday's our off day. So in the season, Mondays, it's gotten cold now, but
right.
In the season, Monday mornings when I like to get out.
Right. I'll tell you, in terms of doing the little things and the one thing that you do, you're going to do everything that way. Attention to detail, right? And as you were telling me that part, I remember thinking about that Nick Saban reel where he's yelling at Coach Kirby Smart when they were in Alabama about guys having their jerseys tucked. I think I sent that to you.
Yeah, you sent that to me.
I mean, it means everything when you do the little things.
Yeah.
Right. And I will tell, 'cause it's your interview, but I'm going to tell this story. I represented Kyrie, KJ Crump, when he got in trouble in the tunnel fight and he got the felony charge. And I remember one day he was so down in the dumps, wouldn't leave his apartment. I said, we're going to go to Mass. And I took him to St. John the Evangelist, which is the Catholic church on campus, basically. And we're passing the peace, and I feel somebody kind of bump behind me, and I turn around, and there you are. And you walked up to KJ, and you gave him a hug. And he needed that like nobody's business, man.
Yeah.
And then I would see you at Mass by yourself, even with nobody around. I remember seeing you one Sunday at 11 a.m. Mass. You guys had just, I think, lost, and there you were. And that's, you do the little things, and you do them the right way. And the big things will flow from that.
Yeah,
right.
For sure, and definitely. I mean, going to Mass every Sunday, win or loss, and football at the end of the day is a game, and there's more important, eternal things. And so I always, not gonna miss a Sunday and go pray and worship and go participate in the sacrifice of the Mass. And that's
all these things that you do, big and small. What do you think drives you?
I don't know. I think I've always been competitive, but some of these things, competition's not even it's not a competition to go to Mass. I don't really know, on everything. I think competitiveness is some of it, and just a desire and ambition to be the best version of me that I can be, and fall short more times than not, but always striving.
Take the gifts that God gave you and take them to another level, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, your decision to come to Michigan State versus whoever else recruited you, it was all about being the best you could be around the best people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's just like things are going well, things aren't going well. We're so blessed to be here and live and breathe and have the opportunities and the gifts that we have, and so why not make the most of them?
There are probably going to be, I don't know how many people Andrew has listening to his podcast anymore, but parents of aspiring athletes, maybe aspiring athletes who listen to this podcast, even though we don't use fancy words like Riz or 6'7". What advice would you give to that little junior cougar or that kid who's playing junior football or junior baseball? What advice would you give to a kid in that position?
Yeah, just fall in love with it and lean into it, and love the hard parts about it. You know, everyone. It's easy to love scoring a touchdown. It's easy to love winning a game. Anyone can do that, and you got to love the hard parts about it. You got to love waking up when you don't want to. You might not love it in the moment. I'm not saying I'm giddy to get out of bed at 5:30 in the morning necessarily, but you know, when you think about it and when you go about your day, you have to just be grateful and love even the hard parts about it. And it's like I said, the time like this, you know, things haven't gone our way. We've lost 7 games in a row. It's hard. You still gotta appreciate it. Give glory to God. Be thankful that you have the opportunities in the first place, and lean into this thing, because what other option is there? You know, Sabanism, delusion of choice.
Because at some point the ball is going to stop bouncing, and you're not going to be able to do it anymore.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, tell the little kid out there, and I failed to mention this is a big part of it too. You know, the illusion of choice. We've talked about it before. You know, once you make a decision that there's something that you want, or a goal that you want to achieve, you know, once you make that decision, you don't really have choices anymore.
Once you commit, you just got to do everything you
You
can.
got to do it once after that point. It takes what it takes, and so, you know, if you choose that you want to be this or you want to do this, then, you know, there's no choice anymore.
I think about something I heard, I think today, from Eric Thomas. I listened to a motivational musing, and he said, you have to do everything that's required once you see it in your head so that you can hold it in your hand.
Yeah.
There's no choice once you decide you want to do it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Everything that you've learned and done and all those skills you've developed, you know, the getting up at early, sometimes it's earlier than 5:30, I know, that's going to serve you well in the future. Sam Edwards, thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine.